Hello everyone, this is OddJob here. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about gameplay theory. This is something that is completely made up, it's all speculation, but in order to actually talk about future gameplay theories that I would love to see in the game, we kind of have to build it on top of a foundation in order to talk about really cool elements that we might be able to see in Star Citizen. If you've ever played D&D or any type of role-playing game, you know that any type of really cool gameplay has to rely on some core fundamentals, and everything has to go back to those fundamentals in order to make the whole gameplay very cohesive. This is something that's just really fun to do because Star Citizen is such a huge video game in terms of its scope and size. Being able to speculate on the gameplay of this is just kind of fun and enjoyable as we wait for the game to be completed. So let's go ahead and dive into some gameplay theory. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about having a ship restriction policy. Now, this particular concept isn't super important, but it would lend to the believability of the Star Citizen universe, in that when you buy a particular ship, there are going to be qualifications or restrictions on the use of the ship based on its capabilities. One thing that CIG hasn't talked about, and it's something that's core to any type of believable universe, is that whatever governing body that actually oversees the area that we're playing in, they're going to have meaningful restrictions on combat ready ships. In other words, the government bodies are going to set rules to ensure that you are going to be more powerful than they are. Specifically, I would think that would be the UE. In other words, say you have a ship like the Javelin and you outfitted it with military grade specs. So military grade components, military grade hardware. In a reasonably believable universe, the UEE would vet the player to ensure that he would not be doing it for any illegal pirating activities. Instead, they would want you to be a part of, say, the backup for the UEE, or to be part of whatever the National Guard of this universe would be. In other words, they're going to put restrictions on how you would use the Javelin, and they might actually ask you to accept side quests that would benefit the UEE. If you were to actually go over to piracy, I think that's completely legitimate gameplay, but if and when your Javelin actually gets destroyed or gets captured, you shouldn't be able to just go to your agency and just get another Javelin to continue your piracy. That's something that if a player actually purchases a Javelin is completely legitimate. In other words, he should get another Javelin, but in terms of the actual Star Citizen universe, it wouldn't make much sense. The UE and the people that are actually making the Javelin wouldn't give a pirate a new Javelin and outfit it again with military grade hardware. What probably should happen is that he would get access to another ship similar in scale. I'm not saying similar in terms of firepower or anything like that, but very similar in scale. I think one of the problems that Star Citizen is soon going to start running into is that they're really relying on Drake too much for ships that are capable of being used for lawful and also for unlawful use. There really needs to be another shipbuilding company that can come in and kind of build these large capital ships that are kind of similar in scale to some of the lawful ships that we're going to be seeing in Squadron 42. That way we can actually start introducing some ship policies and also some concept sales that would kind of make sense, in which when you buy something like a Javelin or a ship of that scale, it would come with a ship restriction policy saying that if you were going to pursue lawful gameplay, this would be a ship that's supported, and your insurance policy would support a rebuilding or repurchasing or reconstruction of that ship. However, if you start using it for unlawful purposes like piracy, what would happen is when that ship gets destroyed, you would be shifted to another ship that's similar in scale that would fit the role of that type of gameplay, and it would also make much more sense in the verse. That way there's kind of a balance between the two. Now, like what I said at the beginning of this video, this one isn't particularly super important in terms of game mechanics, but it would make a whole lot of sense in terms of realism for this type of space simulator, in which military grade hardware isn't just so easily used for piracy. There should be some restrictions, some control to put in for swapping of lawful and unlawful use. That would give the player the ability to choose the type of gameplay he wants, but it also gives flexibility for CIG to be able to swap out ships, and it makes the Star Citizen universe a little bit more believable. So what I'm saying, just to start wrapping up this video, is that certain capital ships, especially the military ones, they kind of need to start selling those ships with a dual purpose. In other words, they need to start looking at it. Are you going to be using it for lawful purposes, or are you going to be using it for unlawful purposes, because military grade ships, they always come with restrictions. That's just how it is in real life. When the UEE, they fund specific ships for military purposes, they restrict the sales of those ships. The fact that civilians can actually get capital grade military ships is already a bit insane, but since they've already gone that route, I think they actually need to flush this out just a little bit more so that the universe stays a little bit sane once people start swapping roles and ships starts being used for good and bad purposes. So those are my thoughts on that. Again, leave your comments below. You think it's good? You think it's bad? Can I improve upon this one? This one isn't particularly important, but I would love some feedback as long as you keep it civil. That's all I gotta say. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.